Welcome back, everyone. My name is Erin Gifford. I've been a graphic designer for over 15 years. Thank you for joining me today, and I am going to show you how to create this business card that you see on my screen right now in Adobe Illustrator. And this is the first side, and then if I scroll down, this is the second side. So I'm just going to show you what's all involved if you wanted to set up something similar to this using Illustrator, because Illustrator is my favorite program. So let's get started. We're going to open up Illustrator, and we're going to do, I already have the old one open. We'll just close that, and we're going to hit create a new document. And it's going to be slow because I'm recording. So once the new document window comes open, this is just where we're going to type in all the details that we need to create this business card. So okay, so first of all, we want to set up our size, and a standard business card size, in case you didn't know, is 3.5 inches wide by 2 inches tall. And since we are going to print this, or since this is a printable item, we want to add our bleed, which is 1/8 of an inch all the way around. You can just add that by hitting the arrow once. And then this might be collapsed to this advanced options, but go ahead and click the arrow so your advanced options come up. And again, because this is a print design, we don't want RGB. RGB is just for screen viewing. We want CMYK. And then we want our raster effects to be high. We want them to be 300 ppi, again, because this is print. The preview mode is fine to do, just leave that at default. And just to be safe, let's check our more settings. Nope, it just kind of overviews what we've already chosen. Hit cancel. And then if we want, to save ourselves time next time, we could type in up here at the very top where it says preset details, we could type in business card 3 by 2.5 or 3.5 by 2, and as long as we have something typed in there, it's going to save this preset information, our document information, so then next time we don't have to type all this stuff in. We'll just be able to choose it as a preset. So we can hit create. And here's our artboard. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. And because this is a two-sided business card, we're going to go ahead and just duplicate this artboard right off the bat. So we're going to go to our artboard tool down here at the bottom. And when you click the artboard tool, you can see that it kind of outlines your artboard, and that's fine. You're going to click and hold. Then you're going to hold the Shift, Control, Alt, and slide it down to make a duplicate copy. So you can see it says Artboard 1, Artboard 2. Now let's start the layout. So let's look at what we're trying to accomplish here. So when we are designing, it's just easiest to design from the bottom up. So the bottom meaning the background, and then the items on top the background second. So let's start with our blue and gray. So we're going to use our rectangle tool over here. You can click and hold and choose. The very top one is the rectangle tool. And starting at our bleed line, which is this red area around your artboard, what's in between the red area and the white area is just your bleed. It's not going to print. It's just extra artwork around the edges for when they die cut it. So we want to give our printers always a bleed. So we're going to start in the upper left-hand corner, and we're going to drag, and we're just going to estimate the size right now. We can always adjust it. This is going to be our blue top. So you can see it defaults to white fill and black stroke. So let's go to our color palette, and I'm just going to eyeball this. You can, if you know your exact color percentages, go ahead and plug them in here, or if you want to plug in PMS colors, you can go up to Window and all the way down just until you see Swatch Libraries, and then over to Color Books, and here's your PMS color libraries. I just, as standard, always use Pantone Solid Coated, and then that will bring up your little Pantone color swatch library. But in this case, we're just going to do this 4-color process, CMYK, so we're just going to disregard our Pantone colors for right now and go back up to our CMYK palette. And I'm just going to click around in the blues. Oh, actually that's really close to what I want, except I don't want the stroke. So let's select our stroke and do the none. So we get rid of that. And then I know this bottom part was like a dark gray. So starting in the bottom left corner with your rectangle tool, click and drag all the way out to the bleed. And then the easiest way to get a gray background, let's get our fill up here, was we select black 100%, and then we slide this down until we get the darkness that we want. And that's actually a little bit too dark, so I'm just going to go ahead and type in 95. There, it's a little bit darker. And then I believe there was, if we look, this gold stroke. So let's go back to Illustrator, and if we select our line segment tool over here on the left, and we're gonna, starting at our bleed, actually let's just click off this rectangle so nothing is selected, and then use our line segment tool starting at the bleed just below the blue. We're gonna click, hold our shift key down, and then drag straight across. And back to our color palette, we're going to leave the fill at 0 because this is just a line, a stroke, so we just need the stroke. And then again, I'm going to just kind of dabble around here and start sucking up a gold color. Wow, I am really good today at sucking up the right color. So let's unselect that. There we go. I think that's a pretty good gold, but I don't think we need quite this much blue at the top. So let's make that a little bit thinner, and then slide that up and pull that down. Okay, now from here, let's look at our design again. Let's add my lovely friend Ashley's photo with the gold trim around it. It's super easy. I'll show you how to do it. We are back in Illustrator. We're going to go up to File and then down to Place, because when we want to add an image to our design, Place is the command that we use. And I'm going to go to the folder that I made for Ashley and find her picture, which is right here. So I'm just going to select her picture, and then I'm going to go down and hit the Place button. And when we do that, you can see my cursor turns into this little picture thumbnail. So if I just click once, it places the picture for me at its original size. You can still adjust it, but I'm going to show you a better way. So we're going to Control Z to undo that, and then we're going to go to File, Place. We're going to select our photo. And then instead of just clicking once, we're going to actually click and hold, and then we're going to drag, and see how we get this box here? That's the size that the image will be when we let go. So we're going to guesstimate about this big. Awesome. So now it's not huge. We just kind of saved ourselves a step of having to resize it. But as you can see in our original layout, we have the image cropped, or I have the image cropped right in close about her, just above her chest up. So in order to do that in Illustrator, we are going to go back and click and hold on the rectangle until we get all of our other options, and we're going to choose the ellipse tool. Oops. And with the ellipse tool, we're going to find, generally when I'm cropping a face, I click or I find the person's nose, click and hold, and then to make a perfect circle, we hold the Shift Control Alt, Shift Control Alt, and then drag out. So I think that's pretty close. We really just want our head there. And now, in order to get rid of this extra part of the photo around here, we select our arrow selection tool, and we're going to select our circle that we want it cropped into, and then our image, and go to up to your menu, Object, and it's called a clipping mask, down toward the bottom, and hit Make. And now our photo is cropped inside our circle that we drew. So let's, it still looks a little bit small, so if we select it with our arrow and drag it from the corner with our Shift key down in order to keep it proportionate, we can enlarge it. That looks pretty good, maybe even a little bigger because she's so pretty. We want a nice big picture of her. And then next we just have text to add. So once you have your image how you want it, then we're going to use our text tool and just kind of click wherever we want our text. And I'm going to type her name. And because black does not stand out at all against this gray, we are going to select it. And then on our color palette, change it to white. And I want to use a different font. So I'm going to use the font called Hind, H-I-N-D, and I want to make it nice and bold. So then in order to make it bigger, there's two ways you can do that. You can use your character palette, which if you're looking, I have them all saved as shortcuts over here on the right hand side. Otherwise all your palettes can be found under Window and then Type, Character. So either way, I want to make it bigger, so this first text with the small and the large T is your font size. So you can just use the arrow and bump that up, and then the arrow tool to move it around and place it. And then we want to type that little tiny word realtor underneath there. So again, the text tool, click, realtor, and then the command for the registration mark is Alt-R. So that's how you get the registration mark up there. And then I want to change the font on this. So with it selected, in my character tool, I'm going to type in a different font name, Times New Roman Italic. And just to make that stand out a little bit more, I'm going to make it the same bright blue as the top of the card. So the easiest way to do that is with your text selected. You have your arrow tool, you select your text, and then you use your eyedropper tool over here on the left, and you just click on the blue, and it sucks up that same blue color. So now in order to resize it, I'm going to use my arrow tool, click on my text, with my bounding box and my Shift key, I'm going to size that down just a little bit. There we go. And then if you notice, if I zoom in here, okay, so I don't like how this registration mark, when we switched the font, the registration mark got really big, but I will show you an easy way to fix that. Take your text tool, we're going to highlight just the registration mark, and then over in our character palette, we are going to reduce the font size. So we're just going to click it down. That's probably good right there. But then we want to move it up so it's up above the R, and that's just moving your baseline, which is down here in the bottom corner. Set the baseline shift. It's a capital A and an arrow with a small a. You can just click that arrow and it bumps up your registration mark. Or any text that you have highlighted, it will move it up for you. So there we have everything. Oh, we need to add the circles right around her photo and then the tagline at the bottom. So in order to add the borders or the circles, we are going to with our selection tool, select our image. And if you look in your color palette, you can see it defaults to no fill and no stroke. But if we select our stroke and then we hit white, it's going to add a small white border. And then to get the gold circle around it, we go back to our ellipse tool. If you click and hold, all your shapes show up. So you want the ellipse. And then you find the middle of the photo, which this little blue dot right there. Hold your Shift, Alt, Control, so it makes it nice and perfect circle. Bring it out. And then we want this gold stroke to be the same as this top gold stroke. So what do? We use our eyedropper tool. Make sure that your outer circle is selected, and then hit the eyedropper tool, and then select your gold stroke at the top. And now we have the white outline around the photo and then a second gold circle around it. It just kind of makes the photo pop a little bit more against the darker background. Adds a little bit of flair. So now we just are going to type the quote or the Bible verse at the bottom of this card, and using our text tool and clicking once, we're going to do unto others as you would have done unto you. Isn't that the truth? Love that quote. Luke 6:31. And I just like using the brackets instead of parentheses because it's just kind of a design thing. And then when we have our text selected with our arrow, we can change our color. And holding your Shift key, you can drag it till it's large. And another tip that I'm going to give you is that when you have white text that usually like a serif type font where there's thin parts to it, if we zoom in here, you can see that there's thin parts versus thick parts. A good thing to do so that this doesn't get lost in the dark background is to add a stroke to it. So we have it filled with white, but we're also going to do a white stroke. Don't worry, it looks terrible now, but we just add our stroke, and then let's go to our stroke palette. And obviously you can see 1 point is way too big, so let's do like a 0.35, hit enter. That is much better. And then let's round out the corners too. So these a round cap is the middle section. Just select both of those. And that way, when this gets printed, the dark ink is going to kind of soak into the white of the card. So by thickening it, it's going to actually probably print and look normal instead of fading away and being really thin. So I always add a white stroke to that. You know, this text up here, her name, it's a thick enough and bold enough type font that you don't have to thicken it with a stroke because it's thick and it's gonna stand out. But this thinner type at the bottom, you are gonna wanna add some stroke to so it doesn't get lost. So we are gonna center this just a little bit better, and going back to my character palette, I'm gonna remove the baseline shift, put it back to 0. And okay, here's another good thing that I should tell you. When you're designing a business card, your artboard is the edge, the actual size of the card, but we want to keep text and photos, anything that doesn't bleed off the edge, you want to keep inside an 1/8 of an inch. So let's bring our rulers up, which is Control or Command R, and it brings our rulers across the top and the bottom. So if we drag, let's see, we can see over here our 0 is our zeroed in on our upper left hand corner. So if we drag our ruler down and do 1/8 of an inch top, 1/8 of an inch left and right, I am just clicking on my ruler and dragging down in order to get a guide. So there's an inch. Okay, so our text down here is too close to the edge. We want to select that, and we want to make sure it's above our guideline so that it doesn't get cut off when it's printed, and everything else looks to be inside. So I think I might move this image up just a little bit. There. So we have everything important inside of our guides. We have all the design elements for side 1. Let's go on to side 2. So back to our original design. So the blue top and the gold line carry over from the front. So all we have to do is copy and paste that. So we want our blue top, hold your shift key down and select a gold stroke. Do a copy, Command C or Control C, scroll down and do a Control V. And then we move that up to the top. Then we can copy and paste the name and the realtor from side 1. Anytime you can copy and paste in a design, it will save you time. So we're going to select your name and the realtor and do a Control C, and then down here and Control V. So obviously we don't want her name to be white. If we're going to keep the background white, we want her name now to match the gray from the front. So with that white name selected and our sucker upper tool, we just click on the gray background, and now it's changed. Perfect. And you know what? It looks a little big for this side, so using my on my character palette, I'm gonna just knock down the font size a little bit. There we go. And we'll move this up. So a little way to move things in small increments is this realtor. If you select any text that you want to move, and then you can use your arrow keys up, left, right, down. It just is a small little nudge one way or the other. So that's another easy way to move things around in your design. Then I believe we just have text. Let's check it out. Yep. And I'm going to actually copy and paste this text from my PDF so that I don't have to waste time with you guys retyping it all. So I'm going to do a Control C. Use my text tool. I'm going to click once and a Control V. And then now I just have to format this. So you can either type out your information and then format it. I just pasted it to save time. I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to use the same font Hind, but I'm just going to make it regular. And then it's super big. It's at 15 points right now, so let's knock that down to about 10. That looks better. I think we might even go 9. And then use my arrow key, and I'm going to move it down here. So I want to highlight the word cell, the word office, and the word email. So with my text tool, I'm going to select cell, and then I'm going to make it bold, and I'm also going to use my sucker upper tool and click on the blue. So now it's bold and blue. That was super easy. And once you have one word formatted and colored the way you want it, you just have to select the next one. Eyedropper tool, suck it up. Eyedropper tool, perfect. And there's our text. Last but not least, we still have a little bit more text. Well, we know how to do text. You can fill in whatever information, obviously, on your design, because you might be customizing this. This doesn't have to be a realtor card. It can be a hairstylist card. It can be a graphic designer card for yourself. You would just customize it, obviously, to whatever images, whatever colors, whatever fonts you want to use. So we're just going to place this last image in the background and show you how to make it transparent, and then add our license number. So I'm going to copy and paste that, use my text tool, and just do a single click and paste. And I want to match the font over here, so I'm going to use my eyedropper tool, click and select, and let's get that nice and lined up, and then move it over to remember, this is the edge that we don't want to put any text or images over. And then we're going to go to File, Place, and we're going to grab our balloon. We're going to click in the corner, drag it to the approximate size, and this one is big, so we're going to drag it, click and drag even more. But if you notice, in our original layout, we made the balloon transparent, so it wasn't full color on the back. So in order to do that, it's super easy. With our image selected, we go to our transparency palette or window transparency, and as you can see, it is currently 100%, and all we have to do in order to change that is you can either type in a percentage, let's do 50, or you can use this little arrow and you can slide it left or right depending on how light or dark you want it. So that is it, guys. That was step by step through this pretty basic business card design. So I hope that this helps. I will also put a link in below for this tutorial and for the next follow-up step, which is how to package it or get everything ready to send to the printer, because I've done that tutorial already. So I will link that up in case you're ready to send this off but not sure what needs to be done. Other than that, I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and make sure and check out, if you have time, my Illustrator resource guide, which has over 150 links to free Illustrator tutorials. You don't have to waste any time searching. I've already done it all for you and wrapped it up in a nice little package for super cheap. And then I also created a beginner's Illustrator course. So if you want to go back to the basics, build your foundation from the bottom up, go ahead and check out Illustrator Academy. There's a link below. It's on my website as well. And for $30, you can learn everything you need to know to get started and be comfortable in Illustrator. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be creative and have a great week.